Hey guys, it is the last week of the year, which means I'm going to be ranking my favorite albums of 2022. I don't know why I haven't made a video like this. I probably should have started doing it years ago, but this is the first time I will be ranking my favorite albums of the year, and look out for my video this Friday because I'll be ranking my favorite songs of the year. Pretty much all of my favorite artists released albums this year, which has never happened before, and I've made a ton of album reaction videos this year, so it was really exciting to get some brand new music by my favorite artists this year. Also, I feel like I need to make a quick disclaimer if you're new to my channel, because if you are familiar with my music taste and you watch my channel, then you'll probably have an idea of which albums and which artists are going to be featured in this video. But if you're new to my channel and you don't really know me, you should probably know I don't listen to a whole lot of like mainstream artists, so there are going to be a lot of big name albums that were released this year that are not in this video. There's going to be a lot of stuff missing. That's just my music taste, that's just what I like, so you might be surprised by who I mention in this video, but that's just my taste in music. I honestly don't even listen to a ton of artists and a ton of albums, so that's why I'm doing a top 5 instead of a top 10, because I literally did not have enough albums to make 10. So now we're going to get started with my top 5 albums of 2022. At number 5, I've got Funkwave Bounces Volume 2 by Calvin Harris. I actually just got this record about a week ago in the mail, so it came in perfect time even though it was delayed. Most of the albums in this video I have on vinyl, so I'll show you guys. And if you're wondering, this is the pink pressing. I'm sure some of you guys are going to think I'm crazy for including this in my top 5 albums, and I know that's kind of like a controversial thing. Hear me out. I honestly really enjoyed listening to this album. Of course, I love Volume 1 better, but Volume 2 I think was a pretty good, decent album. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, I was more like in the middle kind of. I do agree with a lot of the criticism that the album has. I know it's not a perfect album, but I can kind of just look past that and enjoy it for what it is. Just enjoy the music, the fun vibes. It's perfect for summer. The first half of the album I think is really good. I did like a lot of the singles. All those songs up until Stay With Me I really liked, but then after that the album just kind of fell off. So I don't really like the last half of the album, and I know Calvin Harris was kind of just doing his own thing. He didn't really care what other people thought. He was just having fun in the studio making this album, and I feel like that's the mindset you have to have with this album. Like, it's obviously not perfect. I do have a lot of problems with it, but I can still enjoy it for what it is, a really fun summer album. I think there are definitely some bops on this album, like Obsessed and Potion. I still find myself listening to it like to this day in December. I know a lot of people hated this album, which I understand, but for me personally, I did really enjoy this album. So at number 4, I have 5 Sauce 5 by 5 Seconds of Summer. I do have 5 Sauce 5 on vinyl. This is the special Urban Outfitters exclusive. This is on a Candy Floss pink vinyl. I absolutely love this pressing. I did really enjoy the album when it came out. I honestly think it's a really good album. Like, it's well written. In fact, Michael Clifford produced a majority, if not all, of the album, which I think is so cool. They were definitely more independent on this album, doing their own thing. You can really hear like their roots coming out, like their sound. This album kind of went down like the rock, indie, pop rock kind of sound, like their first 2 albums. But me personally, I like Youngblood the best because it's more pop rock, but that's just like my taste. Personally, I prefer their more pop rock type of stuff. That's just because I don't really like rock music. Some of the songs on 5 Sauce 5 I thought sounded kind of the same, or I kind of thought the melodies weren't super original. It's hard for me to explain, but I think some of the songs on the album sound like other popular songs I've heard. Like, the melodies are similar to other songs I know, so it's not like super original to me. I mean, I know like it's really hard to make original music because there's so many songs out, it's hard for people to create new chords and melodies, but it's just like, it just has a weird kind of familiar feeling to it. And that's not necessarily a criticism, that's just something I've observed. But overall, I think this is their most well-written album, or like their best written album. Like, the lyrics in this album, I just can't even believe that they came up with this stuff. Like, it's great, and I love the deluxe version as well. I think the deluxe songs are my favorites. I like the songs that are more like Blender and Tears, that kind of style, and you can tell those ones are kind of stand out compared to the rest of the album a little bit. I don't want to blame Michael for this at all, but I feel like some of the songs just weren't really produced really well. Like, some parts were quieter than others, or just some things that I could kind of nitpick in here that maybe weren't like the best production wise, but I get that, you know, Michael produced it and maybe that's what they were going for. But me personally, it just wasn't like my favorite thing ever. I'm not hating on Five Sauce at all, like don't take this the wrong way. Overall, it's still a really good album. I still really love a lot of the songs on the album. It's just not my favorite, you know. At number 3, I have Sentio by Martin Garrix. This was his first studio album, his debut album. I'm so glad it came out this year. I went to see Martin Garrix at the Indy 500 Snake Pit, and so I was able to hear some of these songs live. So I was able to like really feel the songs. They're meant to be heard live, so I could really experience the album in a different way compared to Five Sauce 5, because I did not get to see Five Sauce on tour this year. If I remember correctly, Sentio means like feeling in Latin, and being able to hear this live like really puts the name and the title into perspective. Like it's so much better when you experience it live, so that's why I'm really grateful I was able to experience it live. Sentio, honestly, there were so many songs on this album that I thought were so good, and I still listen to this album like all the time. Pretty much all of my favorite Stand Records DJs collabed with Martin Garrix on this album, and they all have songs with him, and I just think overall it's a really great club album. Like that's the point of it, it's a club album. A lot of these songs didn't have lyrics or vocals in them, which is kind of why this is at number 3, because it wasn't really relatable in that way, but the songs that did have lyrics and vocals in them were very relatable, very well written, very happy, emotional, powerful songs. But I think it's a good mix, because I do like the club songs with just like vocal chops, and I also like the more lyrical songs, so I think it's a good balance in that way. I do have my favorites like Follow, Funk, Limitless, Reboot. Those are probably my favorites, but I honestly really enjoyed every song. It's really, really good considering it's like his first album. He's put out so many EPs and singles, and he's never had an album officially until now. At number 2, I have 12 Karat Toothache by Post Malone. This album has definitely grown on me. When I first heard the album, of course, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. But going back and listening to it more and more has really made me appreciate a lot of the songs on the album that I didn't really like when I first listened to it. Like the more personal songs like Lemon Tree, Reputation, and some of the songs towards the end of the album, I didn't really like as much just because I couldn't relate to it, and I still can't really relate to it, but now I can appreciate it for what Post Malone was trying to say, because this was his most personal album in my opinion. He was very vulnerable, and like the lyrics, you can tell he was in like a really dark place when writing this album, and he has talked about that. Like this is definitely his most personal album, his most personal project, and even though it is very dark and personal, there are some really like fun bangers and hype songs on this album. I don't really like the personal songs as much as some of the other more fun songs, kind of like Cooped Up and Insane. Those are like my favorites. Like One Right Now, I Like You, Wrapped Around Your Finger. Those ones are my favorites, but I still really appreciate songs like Lemon Tree and Reputation. There's some really like beautiful melodies and pianos going on in this album. And I was also able to hear this album live. I saw Post Malone on the 12 Karat Toothache tour in September, and that also really helped me appreciate the album more. Hearing him sing it live and just get into the zone, you could really hear the emotion and that kind of darker tone in his voice when he was performing, so it really helped me appreciate the album more. I don't really think this is Post Malone's best album, and it's not my favorite album of his either, but I still really, really love this album. I will be getting this on vinyl sometime next year. So at number 1, I have So Far So Good by the Chainsmokers. I know this might be another crazy pick to have at number 1. A lot of people hate the Chainsmokers, but I feel like if you hate the Chainsmokers, you should definitely give this album a try, because it's really different compared to their other music. They really tried to go in a different direction and have a more creative, unique sound, and they definitely achieved that. This is seriously one of my most played records this whole year. It's on bone colored vinyl. I just love this so much. Me personally, I love the Chainsmokers, and I just had to figure out the spots 5 through 2. I knew this was going to be my favorite album of the year. This album has been like such a long journey for me and like the Chainsmokers, because they went on hiatus for 2 years, like right after I started my YouTube channel, and I haven't been able to react to their music obviously because they went on hiatus. They weren't releasing music for 2 years, and then they finally came back. So by then I was so happy they were back. I was so sad they were gone, and just the album release and the hype around this album, the rollout for this album has been so crazy. I literally enjoyed every single step of the way, every promotional video, just everything around this album I've been so excited for. I'm really sad I didn't get to see the Chainsmokers live this year. Like I mentioned before, they like really changed their sound. Well, not completely, but they definitely had some really experimental things in this album. Some of the songs don't have a conventional song structure. They change up halfway through, or the drop is different at the end, like the third verse or the third chorus is different. Like, they really tried to do something different here, and I really appreciate them for that. This album has some of my favorite new Chainsmokers songs like I Love You and The Fall. It was so fun reacting to this album and hearing all the different switch ups and things in the songs. Lots of surprises for this album, and they were super active on their Discord and really engaging with the fans. So that's why I love this So Far So Good era so much. It was just really personal for me more than any of the other albums. It came out right before the summer, and I've been listening to it almost every day since. I just love this album. I love the vibes. It's so fun, and a lot of the songs are very upbeat and happy. Some of the singles are more radio friendly, poppy, kind of EDM stuff, which is probably what people don't like about the Chainsmokers. But if you listen to the rest of the album, it's really different. Like, the singles are meant to be singles for the radio, but there's some really different sounding experimental songs on the album that are non-singles, so definitely give it a chance. Those are my favorite albums of 2022. There were so many memories and stories that went along with some of these albums, and like just the time that they came out and me listening to them. Just really all of that kind of stuff goes into me ranking these albums. So it was honestly really hard for me to rank all of these albums. All of the albums in this video I have made reaction videos for, so if you want to see those reaction videos, you can check out the description. I'll have links to it, and I'll also leave a link at the end of this video. I honestly have no idea if you guys are going to agree or disagree with my picks, but let me know what you think of my rankings for my top 5 albums of this year, and also let me know your top 5 albums of this year. Or you can give me your top 10 too, because you guys probably listen to way more music than me. I realized I kind of have a very small, selected, curated taste in music. Don't forget, this Friday I'm going to be making a video with my top 10 favorite songs of the year, so subscribe if you want to see that, and if you're already subscribed, stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!